Yes, we are live. Mm, we are live right now. Okay, so our programs just started. We are live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let me do a quick sound test and see what is going on. Because I know. Uh, Let me see right away. Let's see what is going on. And, okay. So this is a different one altogether. Look, I haven't logged into here. Yes. It's gonna be a good conversation. So let me check and see if the sound quality is what it ought to be. I have to test for sound quality. Test for sound quality. Test for sound quality. Yeah. Let's go to the channel and see what we got. Okay. Here we're entering. Okay. Good. Everything is looking good now. Okay. So here comes. Um, so the discussion today is still to continue where I left before. But going forward, I'm going okay, let me just put this out there. Welcome everybody to today. Today is Monday, the 8th of May 2023, and I'm glad to welcome you all back as we're about to start to continue where we stopped last time concerning the city of Onitsha. And the title today is this: a dairy Onitsha, a dairy city. Can Onitsha be cleaned up? I know it can be cleaned up. So today I'm going to be showing a slide. And that's two slides. These two slides are going to cover two different cities, but with the same width, almost the same width of riverbank. That's to show you what Onitsha looks today and what Onitsha is going to look like if we become serious of developing our homeland, if we become serious of making the difference, if we understand the development that's the kind of revenue or GDP increment that Onitsha can have if we follow this pattern. As a Nigerian that lives here in America, when I first came to the West, I saw the beauty of the cities and how orderly things were looking in my eyes. And then I look back to the country that I just left a few hours earlier. The difference was just astonishing. Then I came to understand that just few minutes, or I would say in the first hour of driving through the highways of US and heading to my destination, that was on the 19th of November 20. That's 2001. No, 2002. On my way to my destination, I was looking at the highways. I was looking at trucks. I was looking at vehicles. I was looking at the cleanliness and everything. The first thing that struck me was this. The first word that went into my head was order, orderliness. I never forgot it. It was the first thing that struck me, orderliness. Then I said to myself, no matter how corrupt a country is, no matter how crazy, no matter how belligerent a country can be, no matter how religious or disreligious that a country can be, the only thing that makes a difference is order. No, there is nothing you can do if there is no order. Orderliness brings about so many things. One of the things that orderliness brings about is cleanliness. Just we can also talk about other things that have to do with building structures, in city structures, people waking up, going to work in the morning and coming back home, street display, human behavior, everything you can think of. There is nothing as good as when the individuals are operating in orderliness. Orderliness is everything. When a mass is not conducted, when a mass of people don't conduct themselves in order, there cannot be a function in society. People will build houses where houses are not supposed to be erected. Streets will go through places it's not supposed to be gone through. Pipelines, gas pipelines, water pipelines, everything that it takes to run a city will not be in place because of disorder. Lagos is highly disordered. Onitsha is a whole total different level of disorderliness. But one thing I do know is this: Onitsha itself can be one of the best cities on earth if it can be operated in order. Like I've spoken earlier, and I'm going to speak again. A place being in order, it's something that doesn't occur by accident. No, it does not. It occurs because the individuals that will bring about that order when there is an institution that is instituted to force people to abide by rules, regulation that are set in place. But when those institutions operate in lackadaisicalness, nothing is bound to happen. Yes, Onitsha is being cleaned up today. That is the good news. It's being cleaned up. I like that. It's going to take a lot to clean it up because infrastructures are misplaced. Buildings have to be brought down. And when I tell you that buildings have to be brought down, they have to be brought down in a big, massive way. This is not just going to be a state thing. It's going to involve the federal government. But I got to tell you, the federal government of Nigeria operates in a careless manner. But states, municipalities can force the federal government to do things when they start doing it themselves. It's not everything that you have to wait for the federal to do because the federal, in most cases, will not do it. They will always do things for the people that are on their neck or the people that have showed interest in doing something. Then the federal will come. I'm sorry, this doesn't apply to Nigeria alone. This is global. It's global. It measures countries. Even in the United States, the same thing. The federal government will not come and do something if the state haven't taken the initiative first. When the state takes that initiative, then the federal will come and start doing their own because the state has taken that initiative. So the reason why I am pushing on this is that the state of Anambra has to now start taking initiatives. They have to take initiatives on how to get things done. They have to take initiative on cleaning up the cities. They have to take initiative on bringing businesses that can be able to move their corporations. Because, like I said on the other podcast, on the previous segment, Anambra has to start bringing white collar jobs. They have to bring corporations to come into the city of Onitsha. Without these corporations, there is nothing Anambra can do. Anambra cannot build a major city on the back of traders. It's not gonna happen because traders do not operate like that. The traders in Anambra, I'm sorry, no matter their education level, don't have the capital to be able to erect a clean city. They can't do that because their capital their capital is in most cases bigger than their profit, and because their profit is so small compared to their capital, because they are exporters and importers. They are importers, not exporters. They are importers. So what they do in particular is that they import goods that are of high price, and they have to put their own. They have to put more money on it to sell, which is the little profit they're going to make times how many goods they sell. But the manufacturers are the one that absorb most profits, not these importers. The importers don't absorb that much profit. But how can we bring a game changer in our own country? We have to start bringing manufacturing, bringing companies, bringing encouraging Nigerians to move back and start corporations, to start logistics, to start production companies. These Nigerians alone are fit to do this. It's not. It mustn't be foreign direct investment or foreign direct capital that can make the change. Nigerians that are overseas can make significant change to the economy. But how can they do this? Number one, you have to create the conducive environment for them to be able to do that. One of those conducive environment have to deal with, check this out, city outlook, tax modification, steady supply of electricity. The argument today that a lot of people haven't moved into Nigeria is steady electricity. I have to tell you that we cannot neglect the big elephant. It is the biggest elephant, but it's not the only problem. There are problems that can be mitigated right now. The big elephant can be addressed as we go by, but it requires huge capital inflows or huge investment inflows, especially by the federal and state. State and federal can build electricities. But in the case of Onitsha, Onitsha can actually tap its own electricity due to the water bank by hydro. Okay, if you put hydro aside, we can also do what we call wind energy. Like when you look at the Bank of Onitsha, there are multiple sand gathering, which is like a packet of sand uh, pile up in the middle of the river, stretch all the way down to the Atlantic Ocean. Those packet of sands can actually be constituted into a solid sand depot where Nigeria can actually build multiple wind tunnels. Those wind tunnels will also be responsible in supplying electricity to nearby communities on the river bank extended. So this alone can generate multiple electricities to power industries, banks, institutions, hotels, insurance companies along that river line, especially in the Onitsha area. So there are multiple ways we as a people can develop Onitsha, clean up Onitsha. But these things can't happen if we cannot start bringing about corporations to come and invest in that city or the neighboring towns, neighboring cities in Anambra State and beyond. That is the only way we can make a change to the outlook of our city. Like I said, traders can do this. It's not in the interest of a trader to be building you a city. Just the way I said, they don't have that capital to do that. But a state like Anambra State has to do that on its own. Like, okay, let me show you guys a slide real quick because I do have something to show you as this conversation go. I got to show it to you right now. It has to show you the outlook of Onitsha, just like I did in the previous in the previous what did they call it in the previous video. That's in my, I'm sorry, in my thumbnail. I showed you let me see. I'm gonna play, I'm gonna show you a slide. Let me see. Yeah. Up. Okay. I'm gonna bring up this slide right now. So that way, let me close this. I'm gonna bring up this slide. So this slide is gonna show you exactly what Onitsha looks like today. So this is gonna be an aerial view of Onitsha. This is an aerial view of Onitsha. Okay. Yeah, got it here. So this is an aerial view of Onitsha. Let's make sure we can get this coming. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna do it as a shared screen so you can see it now. So there's gonna be a shared screen. Okay. Okay, I know you guys can see this. Like this is Onitsha. You see, this is Onitsha. This is what Onitsha looks like. So this is Delta Asaba. This is Onitsha itself. Just from the aerial view, you can see this. Just look at this, right? Look at the kind of buildings here. Some roads are tarred, some roads are not tarred. Just look at this. This is just regular picture, regular buildings. No inspiration in these buildings. These are 4 stories, residentials. No single inspiration. Look at the bridge. Then when you go into Asaba, it's almost empty. But check this out. Check this out. Look at this. These are 2 cities. But check. This is New York. Wow. This is New York. But look at the inspiration. Just look. Just look. Look at roads. Look at bridges. This is New Jersey right here. This is Hudson River. This is New York. Okay. What is the similarity here? Whoa, the both rivers look almost alike. This is Hudson River. It goes all the way to the Atlantic Ocean too. But this is River Niger. Almost the same thing. The same thing, the same width. Look. The same thing. The same thing. Oh, look at roads. You see? Look at roads. Look at traffic. Look at docks. For ship, for ferries. Look. Just look at transportations. Look at road network. The same thing. The same thing can be achieved. The same thing can be achieved, but what's the difference? Dedication, foresight. Dedication and foresight. That's the difference. Dedication and foresight. Foresight and dedication. That's the difference. I'm sorry, guys. That's the difference right there. Foresight and dedication. So what it tells you basically is this: Nigeria can fix its problem. Many of our leaders travel to foreign countries to enjoy these things. Many of our businessmen, many of our people that are capable of changing these things travel to foreign countries to make this change. But guess what? It's not done in Nigeria. I'm going to send a link. You can come up if you want to, so we can have more conversation. Please don't be shy to come up. You don't have to have your camera on. Just come up if you want to. Click on the link that I just posted and come up. Let's have a conversation, please, guys, because no change can be done if multiple people are not calling in to have these conversations. Let's have a conversation. But if you see what I just demonstrated to you right now is what says that you can have two cities that have something in common in two different continents, but they have their geographical location looking almost the same. But then the problem becomes that they're not serious. Mr. Dako, welcome on board. I think you're mute.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning,
Um,
sir. How are
I
you
mean,
doing
what
today?
what you're seeing is it's what's going on all over Africa. I mean, Nigeria is just the biggest part, but
Mm-hmm.
there are places like this in every single country, every single state. People don't
Mm-hmm.
realize, but by the end of this century, China has their eyes set on all these places.
Mm-hmm.
They need to get rid of at least 100 to 200 million of their people because their country is oversaturated and
That's right.
they don't have the land mass. So they've been purposely put in propaganda and looking to make Africa enticing for the local for the local bottom half of the
Of their
Chinese
people.
of the Chinese people so that they can start moving. Already in Tanzania and like the eastern side, they're taking over there heavy. The only reason why
Mm-hmm.
they haven't taken over the western side is because of mosquitoes and malaria and other things. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's really the only thing that's been keeping them up because even in like countries such as like Ghana, where
Mm-hmm.
my family's from, a lot of them
Mm-hmm.
come there to do mining and other things, but they can only stay there
Mm-hmm.
for about 6 months because they catch malaria, they almost
Mm-hmm.
die, and then when they go back, their family members, their wives don't want them to come back. But when they come, they like it. They're able to take the heat. They I mean there are Chinese people that come and they're on the street selling what is it? Selling what is it? The toasted plantain and other stuff on the street,
Wow.
just like the other
Of
people
Ghana?
of Ghana and speaking the language,
Wow.
speaking Tree.
Wow.
So you have Chinese people leaving China, coming there and selling food on the street like the local people there, but then nothing is being done. Nothing is being done to protect the local businesses where a Chinese person can come from China and be on the street selling the same way the people have been doing for years
For century.
for
For
centuries.
1 2 century.
Yeah, and then make so at the end of the day, the old people, all they care about is just what they can get for themselves and their family. They have no vision, and that's the problem. I can understand every country is corrupt. Every country, their politicians and their stuff, they take money, but they at least have a vision to be able to put their name on a building, on a street, on on a monument, you know on building, planning, like all these things just didn't come in America and in Europe just by happenstance. It took
Mm-hmm.
certain men that had vision that actually were able to use eminent domain to move
Mm-hmm.
people and be able to build the highways and the freeways and build the public housing and build all those buildings because they wanted to leave something for their legacy. Africans
Mm-hmm.
really don't, other than having children and having like family name, they don't really care about legacy like that. Is not into them. They don't want to have a building that lasts for 100 years, 200 years that has their name on
Mm-hmm.
it. They're not like Trump. Trump puts his name on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like an African would just be happy with just having his wife, his mistress, a few children, and then just eating until he dies, and then that's it. And that's the problem. There's no vision in Africa. Nobody sits there and thinks, you know, where do I want my name or my people's name to be 200 years from now? A Chinese person will sit there and think about 1,000 years. A
Uh-huh.
European will think 300 years.
Uh-huh.
An Arabian will think at least 100, 150 years. A black man will only think for today, tomorrow, maybe 10 years. And as long as he houses his house, his wife, and his mistress, that's it. He's comfortable.
But
And that's
check this out. Check this out, right? In fact, you just actually remind me what my next podcast tomorrow is going to be. My next podcast tomorrow is actually going to deal with uh high sexual appetite among black men. And this is not just an African problem, it's a black man's problem. A black man will abandon his future for pursuit of a woman, sex. Because growing up as a little kid back home in Nigeria, right? I remember when some of my uncles would be complaining about my other uncles that abandoned their business place. In fact, I have the same thing in my own family, abandoning business to go and pursue woman. In that vein, end up losing the business, but again the woman lost the business and never recovered. So I think high sexual drive among black men is one of the most is our biggest problem. It's one of the things that
Brother,
hinder us from ever progressing.
it's not really
Because
this. It's not just the sexual drive, because all men, uh, Arab men do it, Asian men do it. I mean, in fact, to be honest with you, black men are the only ones that really do it, more mundane and actually
more
honestly.
mundane, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. They do it
yeah.
more mundane. Like their own, the black man own is just, he can control himself.
No, 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 but no, it's not about control, because the other men can't control themselves either. But the other men, other than African men, the other men, they pay for it. Asian men,
Hmm.
they go and they just pay, and they have their mistresses, and their wife knows that with other men there's no hiding. They go and they do what they do. But the difference is that culturally, other groups of people have never had the abundance. That's the problem. Is that
Hmm.
you have the same drive, you have the same sexual appetite as other men, but other men in other regions of the world knew that they had to put business first, otherwise they die. Otherwise,
That's
they
what I'm
only
saying.
you
That's what
can't
I'm
you
saying.
can't be in Europe chasing women when winter is coming.
Yeah,
You can't be in
that's
the
right.
yeah, you can't be in the desert of Arabia and chasing women when you have to get water because you're gonna die. The same thing in
That's
Asia.
right.
There's no natural resources. Africa is so abundant with natural resources that really all you have is just chasing women and just doing
Chasing women
the
and everything
basic
will be fine.
social thing. Because tomorrow I saw a documentary where they showed some tribes, or some old tribes and stuff that live in like the Congo or some other place like that.
Hmm.
This is what the man's day was. The guy wakes up, mid morning. He wakes up, he gets out of bed, he gets out of his hut, he comes out, he climbs a tree, and guess what? The fruit of the tree has been fermented so much that he doesn't even have to buy alcohol. The alcohol has been fermented for him on the tree.
Hmm.
That all
That's
he
right.
does is just pick the rotten
Just
fruit, squeeze out the juice, and he gets drunk for half of the day.
hmm.
He goes to the river. The
Yeah.
fish is he doesn't even have to fish. The fish is literally on the surface of the water. He just picks what he wants.
Actually, let me add to what you just said. This is exactly the discussion we were having yesterday. I told them that we were talking about why Europeans developed so quick, but Africa lagged behind. I told them that, you know what, when you lack something, necessity becomes the mother of invention.
That's what it is.
Necessity. Africa never needed anything. Everything was given to us. We had everything on our river banks. We have mineral resource. We have the only way you can lack in Africa is if you're far away from the river. But as long as you're close to the river and you have vegetation, you have everything. You just wake up in the morning, you go on the tree, you can climb on the tree and pick up different type of fruits that you want from different trees, and you are good. You are set. You can
You
just
don't
put
even have to.
something
You
in the
don't even have to.
ground, and then you
You don't
have
even have to.
yam, you have cassava.
Yeah. You don't even have to till the soil. All you have to do is just literally just plant and leave it,
Plant it.
and in a month's time, the food is there. So it's like
The
when you
food
have
is
system of
there.
abundance, that's the mentality that has to be broken, because without having the vision, if there's not a necessity, you're not gonna have vision, because there's no need to
Hmm.
plan for the future, because your future is already set. At the end of the
Hmm.
day, once a man is full and he has a place to stay, and there's no real fear of death. I mean,
Hmm.
what else? You have to
Yeah.
really force a man to really build. Other places they have to do it, otherwise they're going to die. You can't be in the desert and just
At
be
all.
lazy. You're gonna be.
This soil will teach you a lesson, because just like in Africa right now, they tell me some people will be like, "We don't have food. This, that. We don't have food. Send me money." I'm like, I can't send you money for food, because you know what? Right, your backyard is a huge amount of land. All you need to do is to go plant on you the one selling your lands to people. Your land was given to you by your ancestors to till and grow crops. But due to greed, you want to have all that money right now. You went and sell the piece of land that you're supposed to use for agriculture. If you plant something back at the back of your house, you can get a whole lot in return. So don't tell me to send you money for food, because guess what? You can grow food. And some people think is being mean. It's not. But that's to tell you that if an African choose that he or she will never die of hunger, they know where to get food. But the West is not like that. The West, the Arabs are not like that. They can't just plant something on the ground and then it brings out food. No, they have to have the soil for it. They don't have the soil for it.
Like in Arabia right now, they purchase millions of acres in Sudan, millions of acres in the eastern side of Africa, just to farm and grow food. So they're going there, buying up the precious land, and the people are selling it to them. The same thing in the same thing with China. They have to
Mhm,
spend tons and tons of fertilizer and food just to grow, small amounts of crop, because their land is poisoned. So now
mhm,
their plan is to slowly build. They're not building up Africa just for the Africans. They're building up Africa so that it can be more hospitable to their own people. And then soon they're going
mhm.
to be flooding, and by the end of the century, they're going to be flooding the whole of Africa with over 100 to 300 million Chinese people.
People.
And with the money that's backed by their government, they're going to take over, because that's what they're doing now in most other countries. Most other small countries, they have their own police force, they have their own, everything. There are places where in your own country you can't even go because it's been taken over by the Chinese people. So I mean, to be honest with you, I'm at the point now is that if Africans don't want it, they might as well just give it up and give it to somebody else that can do with it. Because
But
you can only keep talking to people and keep doing, and keep trying to help them more. If somebody doesn't want to help themselves, it's evolution. If they don't want to
the
adapt,
thing the thing is not the thing
that's
is
it.
not just Africa not helping itself, because there is a big war brewing in Africa right now that I tell you, some people just don't care. You see that generation that was born in the 50s and in the 40s
Yeah,
and the early 50s,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That generation is selling Africa so fast they don't give a damn.
yeah. They don't.
And then the younger generation are telling them what are they doing? They don't care. Because the thing is this, right? They are at the point that they are looking at it that what can you do? Kill me? I've already lived this life. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Most of them are very sick and they are barely surviving. But the damage that they are doing at the end of their lives is just catastrophic, because what they are doing is that they are selling Africa and the highest bidders are buying Africa so fast, because the highest bidders know what is coming. They know there is a generation coming, and that generation is going to be war. You see what I'm saying? That
Of course.
generation will not take this, but they are fighting and fighting and see what they can gather. Because I got to tell you, it will come a time in Africa we don't give a damn what trade was signed between them and these idiots that they did this business with. We are taking our land back. But how can you take your land back if you don't have the development to withstand what is going to be before you? That is why I'm telling Africans we have to start developing in Africa, start making made in Africa, so that way we don't need their finished product to start our product, because we have the mineral, we have the resource that they need to manufacture, to fabricate, to build all these things that they're using today is in Africa, nowhere else. But they also do, but we also do need to buy the technology that they've built with our minerals, right? Or with our domestic components that we gave them the materials that they needed to manufacture. We need to buy that back. But guess what? Guess the problem we have. If they sanction us, we can't get the product. It's just like when Mali was having a it was we remember when Mali and Europeans were fighting.
Yes.
They approached Spain and asked Spain for ammunition. Spain was giving them fan to fan themselves because Europe already told Spain you can't give them no ammunition. And Spain is not stupid. Spain wasn't going to give them no ammunition. But that's how Mali fell because they ran out of ammunition. But if you are the manufacturer, you can't run out of ammunition. And what makes our case different? We have the materials to produce. So we have to now start taking the materials to start producing. But we have to know how to produce it. So this time is of essence. We have to build our cities to look good. We have to also build the technology to withstand any external threat. But we also have to make our places look good so that people will so we can give our people the alternative, the choices to either live in wherever they want to live or come home. We can't only go to another man's place to enjoy the good of that place, whereas our place look like rubbish. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what I've been working towards right now. I work with a few companies myself, myself and my partners. We have a commodities company where we work. We work in different commodities all throughout Africa. We're branching out into farming as well, and that's been the goal: is to work out a plan and try to help. Some of the countries that need to be able to modernize, because it's really just a modernization of the political process and the political levers of power, the laws, being able to set things up, because the administrative of the countries is not only is it bad, but it's kept that way so that corruption can continue, and the bribery can keep on going. If the administrative arm of every country worked, even half as efficient as like New York City, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
investment, there'll be a lot of things get done, because even now most places, you buy land, you don't even know if the deed is real. You don't even know,
Mm-hmm.
you have to build a wall around it, because next thing you know, the same person that sold you the land has sold it to 10 other different people,
Oh
all these
yes.
different conflicts. So there's no way to even grow, because it's like you can't do business. You can't do business,
Mm-hmm.
you can't trust anybody. And if you can't, if there's no basic level of trust, where if somebody robs you or rips you off, you can be able to go to the courts and be able to get compensation. You can be able to have you know laws enforced. Then there's nothing that can be done. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
just going to be everybody for themselves, and nobody's really going to get everything done. And that's really what one of the major Achilles heels of every African nation right now is because you can't be able to do business and know that things are going to get done the way that it's supposed to get done. I mean, people don't trust the banks. They don't trust the administrative offices. I mean, my grandmother, she bought land that's worth about $150 million now in the heart of Accra. The some Italian millionaire, in the 80s and 90s, basically bribed the the land offices to create a fake deed to the same plots. And then whilst they were in court, he started building on the land. So now, with my grandmother not having the money to go and fight this Italian millionaire coming back and forth, she lost the land that she bought in the 50s, because she knew eventually, in Accra, that as Accra was being built, that land was going to be worth a lot of money someday. We still have the deed, but guess what? If you can just go and bribe a land official and get a new deed reprinted, because you have more money than the other person, then how can anything survive? How can anything survive? And this is being done everywhere. It's being done in Nigeria. It's being done in every single other country. So when people don't trust and people don't have respect for for the country or the land that they live in, because it is only to whoever has the most money, then you're not going to be able to survive that way. Because nobody's going to be able to give up their trust and give up their energy to something that they know there's no benefit at the end of the day. That's the reason why America is going down now, because the people have lost faith in the system. Once people lose faith in the system, that's it. That's what killed Rome. Rome didn't die from its enemies. Rome died because of the empathy, and died because the people no longer believed in the idea of Rome. So people stopped, the men to stop signing up for the military. People start giving their energy to the glory of Rome, and eventually they were just left bare, and all the barbarians did was just move in, and that was it. They were never conquered. They died from the inside, and Africa has been that way since colonialism. Is apathy. Oh, you're muted. I don't know if you're talking, but you're muted.
Yes, sorry
Yeah.
about that.
All right.
What makes it so pathetic is this: Africa has always had, like, individuals in Africa, because one thing that Africa has done since colonialism was individualism. Individualism has become our problem, where somebody in an office will will print a deed and give it to another person for paying up, but not fearful of the consequences, either
Exactly.
spiritually or physical,
Or
but
legally.
or
Or legally.
legally, and has swore to himself that he doesn't give a damn what the outcome is. Because just like there was an election in Nigeria where somebody took a bribe and then announced somebody else as the winner of that election. But when everything became obvious that he's done something wrong, this is a man in his 70s. He still refused to apologize and he said he doesn't care.
Hmm.
But that tells you how far some people will go to do something without the fear of repercussion.
Because
And it's only in
there are no
Africa.
consequences. There are no consequences.
No consequences. Only in Africa that something like that will happen, because in the West, when they do it within few weeks or few days, they start having change of mind. Like, yes, I really messed up. Okay, and then they started thinking about their credibility. And but these are men in their very late age, and that tells you so much about that generation, because it's also the same generation that destroyed Africa in the 60s, in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. It's the same generation that are ruling us. They don't care about repercussion. I told my dad sometime last 2 years, I said to him that his generation failed Nigeria. And he said yes. So that is a generation that was raised with morals, but they lost their morality along the way and never looked back to go find it. And that's what we have to stop, because we know, our generation knows, our generation knows that something has gone bad and it has to be fixed, because we can't live in this any longer.
The two things that needs to be fixed immediately in every single country in Africa is two things. The political, the administrative arm of the political structure, and then number two, the education system. The reason why the West and other countries are as cohesive and things run smoothly is because they adopted the Prussian school system. If you're able to, because if you can't indoctrinate the children when they're young to one way
Mhm.
of thinking. In the West, there's a reason why when people go when people come to a stop sign, they stop, or
Mhm.
they don't go through a red light, because even if they know there's no police around, they've been trained from a young age that you don't go through a red light, even if there's no
Mhm.
cars there, there's nothing there, because they've been trained. If you don't know how, if you can't indoctrinate the children when they're young, when they grow up, you have millions of
You
people that have
lost.
their own mind, their own stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's where the tribalism comes into play, whereby okay, everybody thinks within themselves, their tribe, and their family. They don't think in terms of Nigeria. Nigerians are just is just for the outside people. People in Nigeria don't consider themselves Nigerian because there's no
Mm-hmm.
ideology of Nigeria. In Nigeria, you're either Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. That's what they identify themselves as. But
Mm-hmm.
in when you go to France, people think of themselves as French. You go to England,
Mm-hmm.
people think of England, or even in America, with all the different
Mm-hmm.
people in America. When they leave America, they're Americans and they think like American because the school system, as bad as it is, at least
Mm-hmm.
from K through 12, there's a way
Mm-hmm.
of doing things and they indoctrinate you. The first thing you learn in kindergarten is the Pledge of Allegiance. The first thing you learn is all the basic fundamentals. So even if you don't like the country,
Yeah.
by the time you graduate high school, there are certain things that you do and certain things that you don't do, and the
Mm-hmm.
people that completely do whatever they want to do are few and far between, and they're the ones that usually end up dead or they end up in prison. But in Africa, the norm is everybody for themselves. Because if you don't
Which
have
is
the money,
bad.
yeah, if you don't have the money for school, you're not even going to school. So you have uneducated people that have their own minds thinking whatever they want to think, and they're just out for self because there's nobody has invested in them from childhood. You have people don't know how to read, been on the street all their life. You can't teach a person like that to have nationalism. You can't teach a person like that to have patriotism. You can't teach a person that's been on the street that has no education, that nothing has been afforded for them, even the basic
Mm-hmm.
stuff, to care about the country that doesn't care about it. You have to indoctrinate. You have to at least, if not anything else, the education system has to be throughout for everybody, at least from primary school to secondary school. Make sure a budget is there because that's what's going to help the country to be able to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
everybody thinks on the same level. And it helps the country even more because now you don't have people, taking money, taking bribes from other countries because an African cannot go to China and be able to bribe somebody in a land office for a deed or anything like that.
Oh,
It's
oh
not
no, no.
There's not going to happen. You're not going to go there and be able
It's
to
not
do
gonna
something
happen.
for their people because they have pride in themselves. I mean, they'll cheat their people, but they're not going to allow anybody to come to their country and
But they're
cheat
not
them.
gonna allow an outsider to no,
Exactly.
no,
They're
no.
not
They're
going
not
to
gonna.
allow outsiders
That
to come in and cheat them.
it comes down to patriotism is something that look at it this way. One other thing that destroyed that generation was that the generation lacked patriotism because this is a generation that came or they came during this the independence. And one thing that happened in Africa mostly during that independence is that a lot of people don't want to be in one country.
Of
So they
course.
were forced to
Yeah,
be
of course.
as a country. So the resentment was there. So they were pissed off that these foreigners forced us to be one country. And then they started, that led to civil wars. Even after the civil war, the issue was not fixed. But one thing that Africans don't understand is this: it's not the country that matters. It's your understanding of basic necessity, which means life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Okay.
Exactly.
But you also ought to understand what they call cohesion. Africa lack cohesion because throughout history we've fought each other, we've enslaved each other, we've always taken from each other. So we've never this up to recent years, up until this the 40s, we went through so many intertribal wars. We went through so many intertribal wars. So to an Africa, Igbo should be a nation.
Exactly.
Yoruba should be a nation. Hausa should be a nation. That's the way Africa see it. They don't see it that we can be of different tribes, but be of one country.
But the funny is that these same people are the ones that'll risk their life, go to other countries, and have no problem doing what they have to do,
Mm-hmm.
living with many
Mm-hmm.
people that don't even like them, disrespect
Mm-hmm.
them, and they are very, very
Mm-hmm.
quiet. But as soon as they come back,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden they have all that blood, all that fire in their blood. They're ready for war. But when they go to
Mm-hmm.
England, they serve. they bow their head and they save their masters.
Uh-huh.
They go to Europe,
Uh-huh.
they bow their head. They go to America, they bow their head. But when they come to Nigeria now, they're ready for war. They're never
They're
ready
ready
for war
for war.
anywhere else but Africa.
No,
Africa is the only place
no.
where African is ready for war. Everywhere else,
Yeah.
he's a footstool.
Just check this out. I'll be in the car, right? With my family members. We'll be driving, and then they will come at the traffic light is red. They will cross it. And then I will look at him and say, "Why did you cross that light?" And the individual is like, "Oh, nobody's there." Or it doesn't matter, I can just cross it. I'm like, "No, you're not supposed to cross it." And they will look at me like, "Ooh." I'll be like, "Let me ask you a question. Were you not in the US the other day?" They will be like, "Yeah, they were." I said, "Did you ever cross any red light while you were driving in the US?" "No, I didn't." So, what makes you think it's okay for you to keep another man's house clean, but it's not okay for you to keep your house clean? So, are you telling me that you can go to another man's house and arrange every furniture in their house and then come to your house and kick down every furniture? And I tell you, like, whenever I said that to them, they dumbfounded.
Of course, because it
I
never
only
entered
have
their mind.
one guy. I only have one guy throughout all this. I've used this example on many of my friends and family members in Nigeria. That whenever we finish discussing this, the next light they will stop and they never move. But it's only one guy that has put up a fight by arguing to the level I was so pissed at him. I said, "No, you've lived in Europe. Your case is different from everybody I've talked to, and every single person I've talked to have never argued with me. But you have lived in Europe. Why would you do such a thing?" He said, he looked at it, he changed the conversation. I said, "I know you're going to change it because you've demonstrated it so much that you just don't obey the law that you're supposed to help to enforce." I said to him
So
many times that,
it only shows the weakness of Africans. It only shows your capitulation. You know,
mm-hmm,
you boast in your own house, but when you leave your house, you're a sheep. You're a sheep
yeah,
everywhere else, but you come home and then
yeah.
you boast to your wife. It's like the men that beat their wives and boast to their wives, and they are very strong and animated when they are home. But in the streets, when another man comes to them, then all of a sudden they're peacemakers. They want to talk, and now they want to be calm, but they're
And
very loud
in
at home.
fact, you even made it so you made it very simplistic. Let me also use another example. There are men that will beat their wives at home and go out and buy a gift for another man's wife in
Of
front of
course,
her husband and say,
of
"Oh,
course,
madam, you such a nice, oh, take this one. Oh, guy, your wife, not good person. Give and give." But this man is beating just left house, beating up his wife. Then I ask myself, what I can't give to my own, I can't give to another person. That's my lifestyle. What I can't give to my own at home, right? I can't give it to somebody else. If I cannot buy this for my woman, I'm not going to give it to another woman. I'm sorry. My woman has to have it. If I want to buy something outside for somebody else, I'll be like, "Have I bought it for my woman?" "No, I have not." I'll be like, I will tell the person, "Let me do this next month for you, okay?" Then I'll go and buy it for my woman first. You feel me?
of
To
course.
appreciate her first before I then give it as a gift to somebody that I have nothing with. Why should I do that? Because that tells you that you have to be selfish to other people to keep peace at your home, to
Mm,
make your home look good, to make your home look livable, to make your home look habitable, to make your home look welcoming. You have to do that at your home first. I'm not going to your house to fix no goddamn thing. I have to fix my first. You see what I'm saying? Because that's how basic life's supposed to be. Whenever I go to the West, whenever I visit anywhere in the West, even though I live in the West, when I go to places, what I do say to myself, we can have this in Nigeria.
of course,
Because I don't want the West to fail, but I want us to wake up. I don't want the West to diminish, but I want us to improve. Because if we all improve, we can all sell our goods and services. We can, the West can be my customer, I can be their customer. Even though the West has been selfish in pulling people down, I am not that selfish, but I'm not going to be that selfish not to pull myself up.
Mm.
That's why that's why I do this program. This program is about building Africa, building our community, building Africa both in diaspora, building a pan Africa. Let's just put it that way. Building a pan Africa in terms of business, in terms of logistics, in terms of every warfare thing that we need to sustain ourselves and our life, and also go global because we have to.
The top surgeons in the world, Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Right now the top military engineer that works for the military in the U.S. Nigerian, seven
Yes.
degrees. I
Mm-hmm.
forget his name, but 7 degrees. He designs all the top weapons and
Military
bombs
hardware.
and
Yeah.
missiles for America. So you have a man that is working for making the U.S. military strong, but Nigeria cannot use that same man to come there and head their own military the defense contracting. This
Mm-hmm.
man,
Yeah. The guy in
if
Mecca, he works at NASA.
yeah,
The guy that
all
works at NASA. Yeah.
so you mean to tell me Nigeria cannot pour a few billion dollars for him to head his own defense
You
company
talking
in
of
Nigeria?
you talking of Nigeria and pulling on billions. Let me go back to this again because you got to look at this. Let me pull it up and let me do this real quick. So before I pull it up, let me make sure that I still have it. I think I may have
Nigeria
minimized it.
Nigeria could be the third or fourth largest and most successful in military power in the world because
Oh,
because because they have all the minds. All their minds is working for all
yeah.
people.
Yep.
All the engineers, all
Mm-hmm.
the aerospace, all they need to do is call their people back. All they need to do is call their surgeons back.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
That's right.
literally
That's what they need to do.
in medicine and everything. And it's not as if they don't have the money. I can understand if they were a small country and they didn't have the money, but you have the oil money. You have the money. You
They
you can
have
you
the
can
money.
build the
That's why
hospital.
look.
You can build the hospitals and bring all the top surgeons there. And then guess what? Now people, if they want the best surgeons, they have to come to Nigeria and get their surgery.
You seeing this right?
Yes,
You seeing the screen right? Look at this
yes.
screen. Is there any difference in terms of the water? But
The
look at the
governor,
cities. Look at the
but look,
cities.
the governor in that state can easily can easily build what is it what is it? Can build housing and build city blocks. uh,
Skyscrapers, city
no, no, but
blocks.
no, no, but he can build an entire city away from this, and then move everybody from there to that other place, and then have them pay rent, and then bulldoze this whole place and rebuild it if he wanted
And
to do
rebuild
so.
it. Yep.
But they don't have the vision. They don't have the vision.
But that's why
Because the money is there.
the money is there. That's why this channel. Because the way you look at this right now, all of this, do you know to get this to this can take Nigeria only nothing but 15 years.
Of course.
The, even the state alone, this state that I'm showing, this state to the lower part, you see this lower part, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
This state holds the wealthiest individuals in Nigeria. You see from
Hmm.
here right now, from
Hmm.
this line right now,
Hmm.
down is the most richest individuals in Nigeria that live
Hmm.
from here down. Anything from here, the economy changes, varies. The economy varies from here up, but from here, you see across this bridge
Hmm.
is the most wealthiest people in Nigeria that live from here up, from here down. They have, but the thing is this: the one thing that this channel is saying is this. Okay, this state, Anambra State, down all the way to the eastern part. This is the beginning of the eastern Nigeria, right here.
Hmm.
This is the entry to the east. This is the entry to Igbo land. This is also Igbo land too.
Okay.
But this is the major Igbo entrance. So once you cross this bridge, right, you're now in the eastern Nigeria,
Hmm.
the beginning of eastern Nigeria. This is Midwestern Nigeria. This is the Midwest. Then west is way like 300 miles down is the west. No, no, about 150 miles down is the west. But this is the Midwest. So this place that you're looking at, they have the capital to do this, but their profit margin to do this is not something that individuals will sustain, but group of people can build this if they
Mm.
all come together. Not what a single individual can do, but it's what a group of men can do, and they can do because they have the capital. But guess what? They don't have to do that. All they have to do here, because this is like the industrial hub of Nigeria too. You see, from here
Mm-hmm.
down is the industrial. The Nigerian innocent vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Is built right here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So this is the, like, you see how you see all those buildings, right? This
Mm-hmm.
is the Nigerian industrial boom. You see right here, you remember the Nigerian Civil War, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was fought right here.
Mm.
For 3 years, they couldn't cross this bridge. In fact, this bridge was blew up. This is the Nigerian Civil War. This is where millions of people died. Millions of soldiers died right here. Right here that you're looking at. This is where my dad was shot, around here. So, what I'm trying to say too is this. This is also supposed to be the most richest place in Nigeria. This place that you're looking at, all of this, about, I would say, 10 miles to the south of this, and this is 10 miles to the north of this, right? It's supposed to be the most central financial hub in Nigeria. Let me show you something real quick. If I go right here, let me minimize this screen. I'll show you something that I hope okay, you can see this, right?
I can see it.
Anambra State GDP. This is, we're going to look at number 6 and number 1. Okay. The reason why I want you to, so if you look at number 5, right? This is number 5. This is number 5 right here, Delta State. That is number 5. This is this. Is a very big state, very wide, is 3 times or 4 times bigger than this.
Mm.
But look at the GDP. $6.25 billion. But look at this, the GDP of number 6. Number 6 GDP, right, is $5.231 billion.
Mm.
Do you know the difference between these two? This one is oil and gas. This is trade.
Mm.
This right here operates on trade with very less oil and gas. This is solely relied on oil and gas. Check this out right here, Lagos number 1. This right here is number 1. 5 times bigger than number 6, right? More than 5 times bigger than number 6.
Mm.
No, I'm sorry, more than 3 times bigger than number 6. But what is the difference between the two? This is oil and gas, tax, and trade. These and these are the two most business location in Nigeria. They are naked. They both go at each other when it comes to business. These are the two biggest Nigerian business economy. Number 1 and number 6. But the difference between number 1 and number 6 is that there is a lot of oil transaction in number 1. No oil transaction in number 6. A lot of tax collection in number 1. Number 6 just started its tax collection. But this number 6, guess what? Has far more better potential to be like this than number 1. Because of what? Per capita. This right here, per capita, is very low when put into consideration. But if you look at right here, it says GDP per capita right here, it says 6,600. Over here, it says $2,002, right? The reason why this is 6,000 and this is 2,000 is because of the oil and gas and tax revenue that comes out of this. But when you take away that oil and gas and tax revenue, guess what? This will drop under 2000.
Mm.
Whereas this will maintain that 2000. You see what I'm saying? So that's the difference between the two of them. Then if you look at PPP, due to Nigeria, this is one thing that kills Nigeria. Nigerian seaport is here. Nigeria refused to build seaports here. So PPP here, purchasing power parity, for this is 266 billion, whereas this is 33 billion. Why is this 33 and this is 266? Because every single transaction that the rest of all these states, down to 36 states, do, they come here to do it. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
Because the seaport is right here. This right here is fighting to get its own seaport for transactions, right? Look at this picture. This is the seaport. You see right there?
Yeah.
That is the seaport. You see how small it is?
Yeah.
Very small.
The bridge is even small. They can make the bridge a lot taller for bigger ships to
Oh,
come in, unless the river is very shallow.
there is a bridge that is being built right here. You see that
Okay.
right there?
Uh-huh.
There is a big new bridge. Still
Okay.
is not high enough. They can
Okay.
always move this. This doesn't have to be here.
But
They
but
can
but
always
how
move
how
it.
how deep is the river?
The river is not really that deep as it used to be because now there is a lot of sand. I
I
will play
see.
this video for you. Let me play this video for you so you can see something. Fair use, okay?
Hmm.
But let me go back again. So fair use. So okay, check this out. This, you see how dirty that front is?
Hmm.
You see the sandy water?
Mm.
That makes the water a little bit shallow now because this has gone undrainaged.
Okay.
They have to drainage those sand because if they don't drainage those sand, those big ships will not make their way. What happens is that there's a lot. You see, all this right here is because of the deep drainaging hasn't happened yet. So now the sand is catching up with the river. So they have to totally drainage all this sand now so that the water from the Atlantic Ocean can still flow in and then this, because this is supposed to be clean water. This right here is supposed to be clean water.
Mm.
But the problem is no drainaging. The federal is not drainaging and the state is not raising an alarm.
Mm.
Because if the state raise an alarm, right, then the federal will do something. Like look at this. This is very deep. The reason why this is deep is because of drainage. They drainaged it and they used the sand that they got out of it to build all this infrastructure. So the same infrastructure that you're seeing right here, right, is the same infrastructure that can be built right here. The same thing. No difference. They can build the same thing here on this side of the banks, on this side of the bank of the river. They can build massive infrastructure and then they can have these move to the beyond this. You see that bridge? That's a
Yeah.
new bridge because if you go over here, let me go back to that video again. Okay, go. You see there? You see right there? That is the
Yeah.
new bridge. That is the new bridge right there. Okay, go ahead, bro.
I mean, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, the first thing that starts with education. I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
The first thing this it starts with education. If they can't start, their population from
Mm-hmm.
from the bottom up to think
Yes.
the way they want to think,
Yes.
nothing is going to get done, and you're always going to have
Nothing.
people fighting amongst each other. People are going to go, if a Yoruba person gets into a certain office, he's going
Mm-hmm.
to he's going to be given, bribes and different things to his Yoruba people,
Mm-hmm.
against Hausa, Igbo. If you put this person here, so now nothing works because everybody is looking for to go out for themselves, instead of focus on how we can go. Because in America, nobody likes each other. It's not as if this is a
Oh
utopia.
yeah.
No one likes each other. But guess what? When somebody has a job, and even if they don't like you, everybody wants to cry racism and everything like that. But at the end of the day, 90% of
Hmm.
the jobs, when people go to their job, even if they don't like somebody, they do their job and they go home. It's only like
And
the
that's the
10%
motivation.
where, yeah, so if they can do it here with everybody wanting to kill each other, there's no excuse for them not to do it over there. Because at the end of the day, whatever whatever little discourse you have is not that insurmountable. Trust me, people don't hate each other more than white people hate black people, or they hate,
Oh yeah.
or they hate the Jewish people, or they hate any other groups.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, if they can come here and work and deal with people that they don't like, they can
Hmm.
deal with Yorubas they don't like, they can deal with Igbos they don't like, they can deal with houses they don't like. You come to work, you do your
Hmm.
job, you go home. You don't need to see each other. Everybody has their own space.
But the same thing happens in Nigeria. That's what I don't understand. Okay, go to Nigeria. Okay, in America right here, some people, they are co-workers. They never know where each other live. They
Of
just
course.
come to work, they work, and then at the end of the day, but if you look into their hearts, they cursing the other person. They saying so many vulgarity to you, right? They saying so many, they wish to kill you. But guess what? If you come to Nigeria, all these people, they all work, and then sometimes they will close from work, they will go and drink at the bar and all these things, and then they will all attend each other's birthday party. They will smile and laugh, but this tranquility, this happiness doesn't go beyond this group of people. They
Mm,
don't even introduce it to the outside Nigerians and say to
mm.
Nigerians, hey, we are all friends, we are all neighbors, we are all brothers and sisters. We need to put our country first. I think Nigeria and Ghana and all of us, one thing we lack is patriotism to country, patriotism to race.
And that has
We
to be
do
taught. It has to be
not.
taught, because remember that
It
the
has
other
to
people
be
they
taught.
teach, they teach their people. The white
Yeah.
people, they don't just grow up and then all of a sudden they think the way they think. They think because they're taught
No.
in the house, they're taught in the schools. Everything, the history books, everything is geared towards creating a mindset. And the same thing that is what the Chinese are doing. The same thing, because in China they're not all one people. That the Han people may be the most dominant, but there's many different you know
Hmm.
sub Chinese that speak completely different dialects, completely different countries. But guess what? They made a decision to make sure that if you're going to be here, you speak Mandarin, and that's it. They had wars. That's what
Hmm.
the three kingdoms and all the other stuff. All these people spoke different languages. In Korea, Koreans were part Chinese, but they just moved because they spoke different language. They moved down
Hmm.
and they created their own country. Malaysians have Chinese blood. Indonesians have Chinese blood all throughout Southeast Asia. But guess what? The
Hmm.
Chinese decided that we we're stronger united than we are apart, because they were invaded by the Mongols, invaded they were
Hmm.
colonized by they were almost colonized by the European powers. They had to
Hmm.
go through 100 years of the Europeans pumping opium into their country and
Yes. So,
destroying their
yeah.
nation. So
Hmm.
they've learned their lesson. They've learned their lesson very well, and they said never again. These people, they had to kill. When Mao came, they had to kill off all the drug addicts. People killed their
Mm.
mothers, they killed their grandmothers, they killed their people that have been doing drugs for 150 years because of the poison that was being brought in by the British East India Company and other stuff. So when that happened, they learned their lesson and they said, you know what, this is how it's going to be. So everybody wants to talk about they're communist or they're totalitarian and stuff like that. Guess what? When you've gone through what they've gone through, sometimes you have to be
Hmm.
totalitarian to get everybody in the same place. Give them another
Hmm.
give them another 250 years. When they're on top and everything is moving well and everybody's eating well and nobody's hungry, nobody's starving, then
Hmm.
the women can have their feminism, people can be able to have. But for now, everybody needs to be on the same page. And
That's right.
I don't fault them for that, because guess what? When you give people too much power and too much liberalism and too much
Liberty.
freedom, you get Africa. Everybody doing whatever they want to do, and
That's
nothing gets
right.
done.
That's right. Because the thing is this: Africa has been in this perpetual
It's
liberation,
perpetual cycle
whatever
of
they
mediocrity. That's what it is.
of
Perpetual
mediocrity.
cycle of mediocrity.
Because we've been in it for a long time. And another thing is this: our culture, like I was discussing in one of the podcasts yesterday, our culture checkmated us
Hmm.
for a very long time. Our culture checkmated us for a very long time. We were checkmated by our culture. Seriously. But as soon as Christianity pop up and our women discover this liberty, and then they find out that, you know what, if I can do something bad and the white man can come save me for the black from the black man, I can do whatever I want. That is where this self-grandizement, self-liberation came in, and we're losing our society. So that is why the discipline is not here any longer, because nobody is teaching or nobody is enforcing discipline. Teaching discipline is not something you teach; it's something you enforce.
Hmm.
The Chinese enforce discipline. They enforce discipline. That is why their people act right. But if you look at it today, we don't enforce discipline. That is why our people act crazy, because nobody is enforcing that discipline. The discipline is not being enforced. But until the discipline becomes enforced, we are not going to do anything right. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. But we have to enforce that discipline. So let me ask you a question. What do you think, from your perspective, that we can do to yes, what should be our next goal? How long do you think this goal should be implemented or should be enforced? Or what do you think, on your in your opinion, that has to happen for our economy, our way of life, the things that we need to improve our society to take hold? What do you think should happen?
And we don't have much time. Within the next decade, all the old people needs to be eliminated by whatever means necessary. The old people need to go, and the young people that have the mind and the vision to be able to move the country forward needs to step in. And then the first thing that needs to get done is the education system. Every child from the age of 3 to 18 have to be in school, no questions asked. Their parents, the same way a parent can keep their children from school in America and Europe is the same way it has to be in Africa. It doesn't matter if you're in the village or wherever, find somebody else to work on the farm. But the child must be in school because they need to have the mindset of one Nigeria, one Africa, one people. That's the first thing that has to get done. And then the administrative arm of the politics, it has to be streamlined. Business has to get done. The bribery where anybody can just go in there and pay somebody and get things done, that has to be eliminated. So whether they have to give, life sentences for anybody that comes in and does things on an administrative level, the politicians will always do what they need to do. But there's no way that an administrator or a secretary or somebody working in the office can take money and be able to do something, mess up records and do the things they're doing now, and then be able to walk away free as if it's part of the thing. No more gifting at the airports, no more gifting at this and that. People go to work, they work. Nobody pushing people for money at the airport is embarrassing. you
It's
you you
embarrassing.
you 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 come in and all of a sudden people are begging you. Nobody respects you, because as soon as they come in,
Hmm.
they have all these people begging for money. I mean, just imagine you going to a JFK or LaGuardia or some airport in America, and
Hmm.
then you get there, and then the person at the counter is begging you for money. I mean,
It's traumatizing. It's
it's
going to be
traumatizing.
traumatizing.
Like all these different things, it has to be beat out of them, and the discipline has to be enforced. So
Hmm.
if we have to adopt the Chinese method, the way the children are in school, the way everything in China, the children, they go to school, they stay in school, they don't go home until the weekend. They have
Hmm.
dorms. The children are in school 10 hours a day. They have
Mm-hmm.
dorms at the school. The children don't go home until the weekend. They have 1 maybe 2 days at home, and then they go back to school. That's what needs to be done. They have to move the children away from the parents the way that they do in the West and indoctrinate them. Because unless we do that, trust me, it's only going to get worse. And by the time they realize what's happening, the Chinese would have come and taken over, because they're coming. I'm telling you,
Oh yeah,
all they need to do is put 10 million Chinese in every single country in Africa, and that's it. It's over.
and that's it.
And
That's it.
that's
It's
it. It's
over.
over. You know what I mean? And they can afford to do that. They can afford to put 10
Mm-hmm.
million
Mm-hmm.
Chinese in 52 countries. They can put 10 million Chinese. That's only what for what? That's only 500 million. That's only 500 million Chinese. They could put
Mm-hmm.
500 million Chinese in Africa right now and take over the entire continent
The entire continent,
without
because
firing a
Africa is
single
only
shot.
1.3 billion. That's it. Not that many people
They can
compared
put
to Chinese.
they could put 5 to 10 million. You think about it. You get 5 million Chinese in Nigeria, and
No, it's a
then
damage.
with the backing of mainland China, and then
Uh
have
huh.
and then them opening up businesses and stuff and
Uh
competing
huh.
with, bro.
Uh huh.
It's a
With the
wrap. It's over.
locals.
It's over.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
It's over, bro. And so people don't even understand. Like people like that. And the thing is that the Europeans are so stupid. The Europeans are so egotistical, and they're so like backwards in their thinking. They think that the Chinese are like them. They think that the Chinese are gonna
They
come.
don't know what the Chinese are
Yeah,
doing.
but they think the Chinese are gonna come like the way they did with the guns and colonial. Like Chinese are
Mm-hmm.
not stupid, and the Chinese, they know, they've already seen the Europeans try and fail
Mm-hmm.
at barbarity. So they're not gonna come that way.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna come
It,
and do the same thing that the Europeans. They're gonna come and take over economically, take over slowly, put
yeah.
everybody in debt, and then soon the Chinese are gonna be running. The same way the Chinese are running different cities in America is the same way they're going to be running the farms, because
Because
that's what they
they bought up a lot of farms in America, and look at California. Do you know why California housing market is so expensive? It's the Chinese.
Chinese, yeah, they come and they pay
The,
cash.
the same thing they do, the same thing the Arabs are doing in London, right? And the
Yeah,
Chinese, that's what the Chinese and the Arabs are doing in California. They but mostly the Chinese, they bought up all these houses, and do you know that almost 300 and something thousand houses in California are empty? Nobody owns it. Nobody lives in it. It's the Chinese.
of course.
That is why the governor, as much as I hate the governor of Florida, the guy just passed a new law that says no more Chinese buying real estate. No, they just
Mm.
passed a new law that he signed. I think he's signing it today, or maybe he signed it yesterday. I think he's going. He was either signed
But they're
yesterday
gonna
or it's going to
find
be
ways
signed
around
today.
it. I mean, if any, they're
The,
gonna
oh yeah,
find, yeah, they're gonna find
the Chinese
somebody
are very
else
smart.
and put in
They're very
somebody
smart.
else's name and stuff like that.
But what it does basically is that it slows it down.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? That's it. That's the aim of it. Laws are not made to eliminate or eliminate something, but to either slow it down or eradicate. You cannot easily eliminate corruption, but you can eradicate corruption. But what the thing is doing now is that it's going to help to reduce the cumbersome real estate. Because if you go to Florida right now, there are a lot of there are a lot of houses on those waterfronts, right?
yeah.
No single person is living in it.
Because they're parking their money. They know that the real estate eventually is going to increase, and then they can resell it. But and they know the cash is
Hmm.
going down. That's why they're buying music. They buy music catalogs because they know
Hmm.
that the dollars is about to be worthless. So now because they have so much dollars that they no longer need. Because they're moving to the bricks. Now they're just
Hmm.
flooding the American market back with the dollars. They're
Hmm.
just buying up assets, and so
Hmm.
that when the other shoe drops and the dollar finally goes down, they're not
They
left
can
with
then
the cash.
convert it into they can convert the real estate back into currency now.
Exactly, exactly. They know these people are they're not dumb, bro. They're not
they're
dumb at
not
all.
dumb. They're
They're
not
not
dumb.
dumb.
They're not dumb.
They're doing it all around the world. They are
Hmm.
liquidating all their dollars. They're liquidating as
Hmm.
much dollars as possible. The only dollars they
Hmm.
have is just what they need to do to trade. But all the
Hmm.
excess dollars, they are pumping it into Australia, Canada,
Yep.
American real estate. And
Hmm.
then buying up farmland, buying up every single thing they can do. And then when
Yep.
when when the other shoe drops, that's it. So
But Look at what they did. Look at what they did during COVID. This is where I knew that China was up to something. You know, Nigerians and Ghanaians, right?
Hmm.
Especially, the two most traveled Africans are Nigerians and Ghanaians.
Yeah.
Then followed by Ethiopia. Just go. Ethiopia does relocation.
Mm.
And now they started to go home now. I think after looking at the way Nigeria and Ghana have been doing, Nigerians and Ghanaians have been doing things for the past 25 years. Now the Ethiopians are doing the same, because the Ethiopians are beginning to take their world back home now to reestablish back in their place, which is
Yeah.
the third most traveled Africans. But look at what happened during COVID. I was so shocked. I haven't really discussed it that much, but it opened my eyes. Look at what the Chinese did to Nigerians and Ghanaians in China. They beat them up in the street,
Exactly.
because what they're trying to do is to intimidate them, because they saw that they're moving to our place and we're moving to their place.
Mm.
And to them, these Africans are up to something. So what they did was to beat up our people, trying to
Of course.
force them back. But the only thing that made them to stop was the reaction from African governments
Mm.
that had to, a lot of them called the Nigerian ambassadors to their capitals to find out what the hell is going on. So the Chinese now had to go to their people to tell their people to stop. But to me, these weren't ordinary Chinese people doing this.
They were not. They were police officers. They were people, prominent people.
Yeah,
They
these
weren't
are
the people on
prominent
the streets.
people.
Because
Because
the local Chinese, they know not to mess with
yeah,
foreigners or harm foreigners, because
yes,
it blow back on them. So these
yes,
were not, it was a decision that was made from up top, because
yes.
no regular Chinese is just going to go around just beating.
And the reason why I agree with you is because I was looking, one thing about one, I'm somebody that do artistical work. I do
Mm,
artistical work, so I can read humans very well. I, Sometimes I will pause those videos. I will zoom in and look at their skin. These people have good looking skins.
mm,
Their skins are well textured. That tells you that this is not somebody that stays in the street. This is
mhm,
somebody that stays in the office. Because if you bring out two individuals, one is in the office, one in the street, if you compare their skin together, the tender skin is somebody that is in the office. The rough skin is somebody that is always outside, that is under the element. You see what I'm saying?
mhm.
So me looking at both of them and looking at the dress, the shoe, how this person looks, and how coordinated the beating is, I'm like, no, no, no. This has to do with an official duty. It's an official duty. This is an official duty. They wanted to take the blame away from China and put it on Africans, but at the same time, use that opportunity to push Africans out of China. But they underestimated the reaction. But I got to tell you one thing, right? One thing that the Chinese don't understand is this: they are looking at Africa from the lens of of this aging population.
Yeah.
Because when they go to meetings with these aging populations, the aging populations don't read the disclaimers of the contract that is being signed. The aging populations look at the 35% interest rate that the Europeans are giving them through loans, and the 5% or 2% of the Chinese are giving to them through loans, right? And they're like, oh, okay, okay, we'll go with the Chinese. But forgotten that cash loan is as low as 0.025% because it's cash.
Mm,
Cash interest rate is very cheap. The interest rate that is high are bond interest rate, but cash interest rates are very cheap because it's a printed paper.
exactly.
So these guys would then take this loan and they will go to Africa, squander it, or sometimes use it. But then the Chinese then thought that, okay, because this aging population, we treat them like shit, and Africans are known to respect their elders. That means the African youths are going to abide by whatever their elders are saying. But they forgot that Africa is not like that. When an African is of age, we influence our parents on their
Mm,
decision making, even though they still have a say. They still stubborn. They can still say whatever they want to say, but they also understand that, hey, Papa, you got to do what is in the interest of our family.
Mm.
We have that conversation with our parents, and they end up doing most of the time they tour with their kids. In 98% of the time, aging parents always tour with their children because they know there is something that you are saying that he's not saying, and they know that they were once your age. When those things started happening, and the Chinese saw the reaction from the youth Africans, right? That made them panic.
Mm.
But they don't know what is coming 10, 15 years from now, because they have to understand that these youth Africans are not dumb.
They see everything. Everybody's connected. Everybody has
Yep,
a cell phone. They see
yep.
they're not, it's not like before where you can just trick them and just tell them anything. These
Mm-hmm,
children see everything. They know everything that's going on all the time, every day, all day. So you're not gonna come and be able to purport the lies that they used to do before. The days of watching CNN and world news and Al Jazeera, all those days are done. These people can get the real. They have friends in all these countries that can give them the real deal
mm-hmm,
situation that's going on. There are people that have people in China that can give them the real situation that's going on.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons why they had to reverse the stuff that they do, because the news was saying one thing, but guess what? People were going online and they were talking to
Posting
their
something
people.
different.
Yeah, they're talking to their people in China that was showing
Mm-hmm,
them on social media what exactly
mm-hmm,
was going on.
mm-hmm. And not even that, even the Chinese people were pissed too, because the Chinese people were like, saying that no, this was not good. Because the thing is this, Africans are the least people that will look for trouble outside Africa.
Mm. Of
that
course, of course.
I will vote for Africans on that one. They can misbehave at home, but outside the continent, they are largely, not
Mm.
not totally, but largely obedient to the rules of their host countries. You're going to always see those criminal ones, the ones that are credit card fraudsters, cocaine dealers,
But
the ones
even
that are,
them, scamming is different than shooting, killing, running around.
oh,
They do
then
their
Africans
stuff,
not,
and
they
yeah,
will not
but
do that
the
one.
stuff they do is they're not trying to advertise. It's not like other places where you have to worry about them coming in there and really doing some major damage. They'll come there, they'll do their scams, they do whatever they do, but all that stuff can be brought back. So
Oh, yes.
is
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, unlike like you give Albanians or Polish or Russian people, they go somewhere, they just, it's like barbarians at the gate, scorched earth. They just go there and
Mm-hmm.
they just rip up everything. Like, and Nigeria will
Destroy
go
everything.
someplace,
They don't
they'll
care.
go someplace, they'll figure something out, they'll try to get into some scams, but at the end of the day, they just
Mhm.
get their money, they send it back home, and that's it.
And that's it. So let me ask you a quick question right now. In terms of business, in terms of technology, because it was in my
Hmm.
previous, but I'm going to bring it up due to your understanding and knowledge of the 21st century. Looking at this city right here, one thing that is lacking here is innovation, invention, capitalism in the 21st century, offices, that's which means service industries. One thing that this has better than the other one, this right here, most of these buildings, all these high rises over here, are owned by service industries,
Mm.
insurance, accounting,
Hmm.
law firms, banking systems. They own most of these high rises. It comes to beg the fact that one thing that I think that Africa is lacking, and especially such a big city right here, is the presence of service banking, real estate, and hotels and leisure.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
don't. Yeah. So
If
why
anything,
is it? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying if they can, if they could reach out to the governor of that state, there's a way to turn that place into a startup hub, whereby you can invite startup companies from all around the world to come there, where they can get tax benefits, incentives, as well as low interest loans and things of that nature, to bring their startup and their technology there and build and hire the local people that are there. If you can do that, it'll be big, because there are startup companies all around the world that need funding, need a place to go, need be to be able to get tax breaks and benefits, and they will be able to get investments used that way, both on the service side and
Mm-hmm.
also on the technology side. Because you remember, you have the crypto, the crypto startups that are plentiful,
Mm-hmm.
that are looking for places to go and do their works. You also have all these low level and mid level technology companies and inventors that are looking for places where they can both have a factory hub, because there's already a factory hub there. Now they can bring the service hub and the different technological companies that are out there, and make it a startup, like a startup city, a city for just new startups. Anywhere
Mm-hmm.
around the world, you can come there, set up your company there, and be able to have benefits of open up bank accounts and startup. Turn it into like a Dubai for startups. So the same way
Mm-hmm.
Dubai is for the rich people that want to go and do business, in
Mm-hmm.
between the east and the west. And the way Dubai has been set up, that can be
Mm-hmm.
a Dubai for startup companies that can come there and be able to have you know the politics and the administrative be favorable to them.
Okay. Well, I gotta be honest with you. Changing a city, changing a country, changing the outlook of any place requires determination.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always say to people, in building anything that you want to build in life, if you have the determination to build it, you will make it happen. If you look at this, they both have a lot of things in common. The shape of the riverbank. The riverbank is almost the same width. That tells you that there are potentials here.
Yes.
The economy of this right here is telling us that it is a $5.2 billion economy.
Mm.
But this right here can become a $500 billion economy. With
Elon Musk has a company, one of his companies called the Boring Company. Is a company
Mhm,
that mostly deals. I'm sure you've heard of it. The engineering company that deals with, they build, infrastructure building,
mhm,
building tunnels and different infrastructure projects all throughout America and other places. They have a lot of military contracts. That a company like that will be very instrumental. If you were to bring that company over there, they'll be able to do a
mhm.
lot of stuff for Nigeria, because
Oh yeah.
their company, they're doing, Starlink is another company's, whereby you can build, you can have a hub there, the same way Twitter is in Nigeria, Facebook in Nigeria. You can court all these different startup companies that are fledgling and building, and you can entice them with the fact that they can build a headquarters there and then have access to the Nigerian market. So obviously, Starlink would want to have access to 200 million, potential customers for their internet technology. And with Africa, everything in Africa now is Wi-Fi. Everything in Africa is, because we don't have the money to be able to go and build everything, you know, through fiber cables and all the other things that other countries have
Yes.
done. We have the ability to go straight to the new technology that's out there. So if Wi-Fi is a new technology, and with everything being more decentralized in Africa, Africa is a
Mhm.
decentralized hub, because there's not a single unified. People don't even have a unified postal service. You have to
Not
go.
at all.
You have to go to the postal office to get your mail. People can't.
Mm-hmm.
They still can't deliver mail to people's offices or people's homes and things of that nature. So if things are going to be decentralized, then just build it as a decentralized system.
System.
You
But
know.
but but if you look at it this way, did you see what you just said? There
Yeah.
is no mail delivery to people's houses in
Hmm.
Africa. What is it? Is a potential.
Exactly.
So whenever I travel to Africa, I tell them that anything the government is not doing in terms of services is a potential for a
It's a
private
potential.
company.
I mean,
It's a
that's what
potential.
FedEx. That's why FedEx was started. It was started by a
That's
guy who
right.
saw the deficiency in
Mm-hmm.
the UPS and decided to build his
Mm-hmm.
own company. And
Mm-hmm.
now is one of the people trust FedEx more now than they trust UPS. So
That's right. That's 100% correct. That's right. No, keep going. I'm listening to you.
yeah,
That's
so
right.
that's one of the things that I'm in the process of trying to build now, using the decentralized services to be able to start a post office system, in Ghana and other countries, because you start with the post office, build from there, and then different services that are offered in the West that Africans don't have now. That the technology is there where you can do it for a fraction of the cost that it was before, because with the
Mm-hmm.
new technology, everything can be done faster, better, and more efficient. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't need to hire as many people. You don't need to have as much you know sweat equity as it normally would. That they had 100 years ago. So that's what it needs. Is you start with the basics. Africa does not have the basics. They're trying to compete with the West, but they haven't even. But they don't understand that it took 150 years for the West to be where it was. Like there was no interstate highway in America in
Mm-hmm.
the 50s. They started building that in the 50s. That there was no unified postal service, in the early, then, and even in the late 1900s there wasn't a unified postal. The postal service
Mm-hmm.
started building really in the 50s. Everything you see
Mm-hmm.
in America really started building more
It
in
was
the
just
50s.
60, 70 years ago.
Exactly.
Most of these things started 60, 70
60
years
years
ago.
ago. So, but the thing is that African can do all that in 10 years,
In 10
because
years,
because the technology is already there. They
it's
don't have to
already
go
there.
through all the process. They don't have to go through all the processes and all the stuff that the
Mm-hmm.
predecessors did, because the new technology now they can do it bigger and better and even best. You start with the
Mm-hmm.
post office. You
Mm-hmm.
everything, all the administrative services of the government can all be on blockchain, so that
That's right.
is trustless. You don't have to worry about people forging deeds and forging documents. Everything can go on the blockchain. So now the
Mm-hmm.
people that are there, once you do something, everybody can see it. So it's trustless. Banking can be trustless. What is it? Now you can build your education system whereby it's less labor intensive than it normally was, because you have AI technology now that can be able to teach
Mm-hmm.
the students. You have a you can build an iPad that is cheaper. Build it in Nigeria and make sure that every student has that iPad where it'll be
Mm-hmm.
their book. They can use that
Mm-hmm.
to write all their notes, to do all
Mm-hmm.
this the stuff that they need to do. While 50 years ago, you needed lots of books, lots of pencils, lots of paper, lots of all this stuff. Or now everything can be done in one small little book, that's a tablet, where all the children can have all their lessons, all their stuff taught to them there, and then they just go to school more for the indoctrination and just to be able to sit down and listen to a teacher. So all this stuff is there. Like people are trying to act as if like Africa can go from where they are now, and be just as equivalent as the West or China, and they can do it within 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Literally do it within 20 years, because the people that you have the youngest population in the world, the people are there. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
pay them as much as everybody else. You can do now. Really, the Chinese are in the process of trying to see if they can move some of their factories to Africa, because it's cheaper now to now. The Chinese have raised the standard of living so much that people, they can't afford to pay their
Their
people,
own people.
yeah, the
They
slave
can't.
wages that they used to before, because
Mm-hmm.
they build the economy so much that now the people are looking to move factories over to Africa because it's cheaper. So eventually, the factories are going to be coming back to Africa. But if we're not
Hmm.
there to be able to dictate terms, guess what? They're going to
They
come to
run us
Africa.
over.
They're
They're
going to
gonna
run us
run us
over.
over.
They're going to run
Yeah.
us over. They're going to come and they'll bring their factories. But guess what? We're not going to be running those factories. It's going to be them, and they're just going to use us as slave labor and then enrich themselves. And then we're still going to be in the same position that we are.
When I went to Nigeria back in, I was away from Nigeria from 2003 to 2018. It
Mm.
was a
The
very
same thing
long
with me.
time. Oh boy.
I went back. I went back in 2018 for my aunt's funeral, and the same streets that were potholes and bad 20 years ago when I was there as a child going to school, they were still there, unfixed, potholes still there for 20 plus years, 22
I
years.
tell you,
I leave,
man.
I come back and the same like it's like I never left, and I'm like,
It's like, I tell you, it was like I never really left.
how can you leave for 20 plus years and come back and it's the same like it I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you kidding me? The
And
potholes still there.
one thing that really pissed me off was when I was in Nigeria, I knew the difference between 1995 and 2000. There was a change. There was a lot
Hmm.
of change. You could see the change. But when I left in 2002 and came back in 2018, no, in fact, it didn't. It got worse,
Hmm.
and I was pissed. But this is what happened. I saw a lot of potentials. I saw a lot of potentials. That
Hmm.
was one of the reasons why I started talking to people, talking to people, talking to people, talking to people. Then I said to myself, talking might not help. Let me start a podcast. And then I started a podcast. But before that, I started a business my businesses are coming online right now. But every single time I discuss business, every single time I register for a company, every single time I start a business, I see another potential.
Hmm.
Then I started crying. I'm like, one person can't do all this. We need thousands of people to do this.
Hmm.
That's why I then started putting more effort online to call people, talk to our people and say, no, you need to go back home. Excuse me. Your attention is needed. You need to go back home.
Hmm.
You need to go and start something. You don't have to start it on a big scale. You can start on a small scale. But check this out. You can also go into partnership with people, because one thing that kill our people is that they don't like to go into partnership.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the name of the company to be under their name.
Hmm.
You don't have. You can start the first company under your you and your friends. 5 years from now, you must have built a lot of capital to start a different type of business. Now you can put that under your name and do your thing.
Hmm.
But right now, get in coordination, in cooperation with other people, and start something today. You can change that country. You can change that continent. And one thing that makes Africa so beautiful is that it's all land and rivers that go through it, but it's mostly land.
Hmm.
So you can go from Ghana to Nigeria without going through any ocean.
Hmm.
You just have to go by road. You can go from Nigeria to South Africa without worrying about any ocean to cross. You can just go by road or go by air. You can go from all the whole 52, 54 countries, right?
Hmm.
You can go to individual country without hindrance. You're talking about almost you're talking about potential $200 trillion of economy.
Yeah.
$200 trillion
They
economy.
they they
That's what you're looking
they
at.
are focused too much on foreign people when they should be building their internal economy. They can build the internal economy and every country in Africa will be rich.
We'll be rich
Everyone will
because
because you
every
don't need to
country
save
enough
anybody.
at all. You don't even need the outside world.
You don't.
You don't even need anyone, because you're talking about 54 countries, and each country is a massive land on its own.
Exactly.
The only do you know the only countries that are small in Africa is Ghana, Togo. Benin. Every other one is massive.
Hmm.
Every other one is all those three countries combined. Every other one is massive country. And every one of them, all these 54 countries are huge. Look at Ghana. Lithium battery this thing source was
I
just
wanted
this.
to talk to you about that. Let's do, because I'm my company is, we're actually in talks, because we were in talks with lithium miners in the Congo, and other
Yes.
places, because I have buyers in other countries, and I also have miners as well. That
Hmm.
we were I was coordinating between the buyers and the miners to coordinate with the sellers in Congo to be able to sell some of the lithium that's there. Because of all the political situation in Congo and all the stuff that's going on within them in Rwanda, a lot of the stuff fell through. Late last year and this year, so we weren't able to do
Hmm.
it. But now that I've just heard that we had there's opportunity in Ghana, and I have
Hmm.
my people there. Let's
Hmm.
talk, man. I mean, send me an email. If your friend is
Yeah.
interested, if your friend is
Yeah.
interested, we can set up depending on how much is found, we can set up a deal whereby I can coordinate with miners that are legitimate lithium miners that are currently mining in Argentina, Bolivia, and South America.
So what part of what you live in London, right? Where do
No,
you
no,
live
no.
now?
I'm in New York. I'm in the
Oh, you're
U.S.
in New York.
Yeah, I'm in New
Okay,
York.
so what we can do basically, I can call him up. I can call him up once we leave, once we
Okay,
get off, and he and me and him will talk in the
okay,
next few minutes. And what we can do basically, once I end
okay.
this program, once I click the end, don't hang up, so
No
that way
problem.
we can exchange contact.
No problem.
So once we exchange contact, then he and I will discuss this afternoon.
No,
Then possibly,
just I sent you my info in the back chat.
yeah,
So if you
yeah,
want,
but yeah, but I can't open it up because
oh, okay,
I'm
okay, okay.
live. It's
All
once
right,
I
all right.
open it up, people will see your information.
Okay, no
So that
problem.
is why I have to. Once don't hang up,
All right.
don't close your chat. So
Okay,
once I click end, then I can get to it, and then so what we can do is coordinate from there. But I'm not going to discuss our coordination.
no
So
problem.
just stand by. Okay, let me end the program.
No problem.
Let me just finish the monologue so we can talk on the other side. Just stand by. Okay, don't hang up.
No worries. No worries. I'm here.
Thank you guys for listening. It's a very, very big pleasure of mine. Let me also go back to the screen that I was sharing early and finish it up. So, like I was saying, this is this is something of importance. Like I said, this right here can look like this, but all it takes is determination, foresight, understanding of city planning, geographical exposure, because this right here is exposed just like this. The difference is this is about 5 miles to the Atlantic Ocean. This is about 25, about 50 miles or 60 miles to the Atlantic Ocean. That's it. But they both can, but this right here can generate nothing less than $1 trillion to Nigerian economy when it's done. Even in the next, let's just put it this way: if it's done right, this right here can generate over $500 billion to Nigerian economy in less than 15 years or less than 10 years. In 25 years, this can become a $2 trillion economy or more. But on the high side, I'm looking at about $10 trillion. On the high side. On the lower side, I'm looking at about $3 trillion. This right here. This is the massive industrial city of Nigeria. But it can also become industrial and service, logistics, insurance, banking, finance, and many more. Hospitality and healthcare. This is what you're looking at. So I will continue with this discussion tomorrow at the same time, 11 o'clock Central Time, and we can talk more. and I'm going to bring more pictures to analyze, more videos to back it up, and then hopefully there will be more people coming online on board to discuss with me concerning this, and also the future, how this can change. Because one thing is that I'm going to take this to the governor of Anambra State. I know people that know him to help me to contact him so we can discuss more about this development. It will start soon. That I promise you. Thank you guys for listening. And it's my pleasure having every one of you here. And you have a beautiful weekend. Good day and good night. Bye bye, guys.